Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today on Pyramind's YouTube channel. My name is Brandon Roos. I produce under the name Smoltron, and today I'm going to be sharing one of my favorite techniques in Ableton for creating excitement in your drum arrangement for specifically electronic music. And the technique is reversing tails into your impactful drum hits, such as your kicks and your snares. I'm going to show you 3 ways to make these sounds. And the first one is going to be to just use the snare from your drum arrangement to create a tail that goes forward and then just reverse it. So how you're going to want to do that is just grab your snare or kick if that's what you're using. I'm going to focus on snares today, but definitely try this on kicks and even in spots with no drums. It'll definitely add some interest to your tracks. So what we need to do here is just grab our snare, and I'm using a couple of Decaps drums that knock. I definitely recommend them. So we've got our snare on a separate MIDI track now, and we're just gonna shape a tail that we can then reverse. So first kind of obvious choice is gonna be reverb, and you just want to get that decay time up nice and long. And you can turn the dry wet up too, because we're not too worried about the impact of the snare. We just want to make the tail really big. So there's that guy. We'll throw in a ping pong delay, but I'm going to keep the frequency range pretty tight and make it pretty fast. Bring the dry wet down. I just don't want to hear too much of the transient in there, but it does give it some cool movement having that on there. So then we'll saturate those two so that it brings up the tail a bit. If you put the saturator before these two, it'll bring up the snare before it goes in, which will bring up the tail a little bit, but if you put it after, it'll be more effective for this technique at least. Then the last thing we need is going to be an EQ to cut out some of this low end, because your snare is probably going to have some nice low mid that helps it cut through the mix, but we don't necessarily want that coming through into the tail. So let's hear what we got here. So that's pretty good. So now we just need to record it to audio. So I'm just going to make a new track. I'll label this snare tricks, and this is snare reverse. We're going to set our input to snare tricks. Hold command so you can enable and solo multiple tracks, at least if you're using the default preferences. Then we're just going to record it in. We've got it. We can delete that. Zoom in on this and trim it to the length that we need. And just double click to open the clip, hit reverse down here. Now it's going backwards, which is exactly what we wanted. Let's hear it like that. So that's great, but we don't really need this, the reversed drum hit itself, because it'll sound a little awkward when you put it next to the forward facing drum. So we just cut that off, and I'm going to shorten it a bit, and actually let's go this way. And then we're going to hit Option Command F. That's going to bring our fades in. And now we can line it up with a snare hit, which mine are on the 3s there. So then you can just kind of shape this to get it to be the exact length that you want. So it's nice and short now. Just on solo and hear it in the mix. So that definitely added a little something, but let's give it some compression to bring it up a bit. So that's one way to make these. Another way that's probably a little easier is to just use a pre-existing sample. And pretty much anything will work, so just get experimental. I've chosen something pretty simple here. This is just an impact. But what I like about it is it's got some nice downward motion to it. that when you reverse it will, of course, be kind of uphill motion. So let's just show our audio here. Now, again, we don't want the impact, because when we reverse it, that's going to sound kind of weird. So we'll just take a nice little chunk out of the middle. That's more than enough. It's a full bar. So we'll cut that out, delete the ends, and then we're going to reverse it there. And let's add some effects. So we'll put some reverb, some chorus, and let's cut that low input on the reverb. Go to high quality. Don't settle for that eco verb. Then we've got, or we won't make the decay time very big on that. A smaller reverb for this one because we're not going to, we're not really making the tail out of this. It's already been reversed, so we're just adding some space to it. And then we'll compress, and before that we will do our EQ again. That just cuts out the lows. You'll notice that I'm always using these high passes on pretty much anything that doesn't need sub. So that just makes your mixes a lot cleaner, because the low end and things will fight, but something like this doesn't really need any. So we just lob it off, and let's hear what that sounds like. That's pretty cool. I'm going to turn off the chorus though. Yeah, I like that better. So we'll just line it up again, put it on the one before our other one, and I'm going to move them next to each other actually. Then we will activate our fades again and just shape it. So make this one a little longer. So let's hear how it sounds. Cool. I'm going to make it a little shorter though. Cool. So let's go over the third way to make these, and that is using a noise oscillator of a synth. So I'm just going to use analog. Alright, and then we just activate the noise oscillators here and get some effects going. Now I like to use this method a lot because even though it's not necessarily derived from a sound in the song, like when you reverse the snare tail, it just gives you some more control over, you know, the exact properties of the sound. You know, you're not tied to your, you know, the timbre of your snare sound and the reverb that creates. You can kind of shape whatever you want. So one thing that I like to do is drag out this phaser and turn up the LFO and make it really fast. And then it kind of gives it this warbling texture, which when you bring down the dry wet, just gives it some movement, which sounds a little abrasive right now, but once we add some more things and get it shaped, it sounds really cool in the mix. So I'll shape that. Just want a good amount of reverb on this one. Then we'll high pass again. And we'll compress it all together. Cool. So let's solo that, and we need to record it to audio. Let's call it our noise oscillator. This will be our audio noise. Set the input to noise OSC. Use our command click again, and there it is. So we just get in here, shape it again, kind of trim off the head. For these, it's good to grab just a middle section of the audio. You could use something like the end here, that can be cool too, but I'm just going to use the fades to shape it, so I'm not too concerned with that. That's about the perfect length to start with there, and we will get it next to the other ones again and test them out. Cool, so let's hear them all together. So this one's kind of a little bit louder than the other, so I'll bring him back. But he's also just a little more leaning into the high end than these ones are. But what you can do then is, once you have a variety, and you definitely want, you know, more than just one of these sounds in your song, because if you just use one, it'll kind of get stale pretty quickly. So let's copy this guy over here, and then this guy's kind of in an awkward spot, but we can shorten him, that's okay. Just grab that, duplicate, get it all throughout our arrangement, and there you go. So when I mute that group, you can really hear that the track loses some energy. The reverse tails that we've added here really add some life and breathe some energy into the arrangement here, and hopefully it can do that for your tracks as well. I hope this tip was helpful, and we hope to see you again soon.
If you're a music producer, subscribe to our channel and stay up to date on the latest Pyramind tutorial videos, track breakdowns, elite sessions, and more. Visit us at pyramind.com.